Now in this demo app we've been working on thus far, we actually have one problem. Teams works, users works, and we can view our team's members. But in reality, most users would probably reach this page by just entering your domain. And if you do that, you don't have an error, but you also don't see anything on the screen. The reason for that can actually be seen in the console. The router doesn't find any matching route for /nothing, so for just our domain /nothing. And that's not a technical error, but it might not be what you intended. You definitely might want to handle this and display something on the screen. Now, it of course depends on the kind of app you're building and which routes you want to have. Maybe you have some component which you want to show here. Maybe you simply want to show the team's list if the user enters /nothing. But here, I want to have /teams in the URL when team's list is shown, simply to kind of have an expressive URL, which is also describing the type of content we're seeing on the page. Of course, I still want to add a new route here as a first route, which is path /nothing, which should be responsible for loading team's list as well. Now, as I just said, we can also load team's list here, save this, and now see our teams also when we visit /nothing, and everything will work. But I always want to have /teams in the URL and not just /nothing for loading the team's list. So therefore, actually what I want to do here is I don't want to load the team's list component. Instead, I want to redirect to this route. And that's possible with the router. In the route config, you have another option which you can set on a route, and that's the redirect property. And you can set this to a path you want to redirect to. So that if /nothing is entered, we redirect to teams. And of course, you can redirect to any path you want. And if I save this, and I now enter my domain /nothing, if I hit enter, you see it changes to /teams and we're redirected to this page by the Vue router. So that's a pretty nice feature, being able to redirect. It is something which you might need a lot in your applications. There also is kind of an alternative to redirect. You can also set the alias option. Well, you would actually not set it here. Instead, you would remove this route and go to the route you want to load when this route is loaded, and then add alias to that. So in this case, the /teams route. And here you then add your alias path, which in the end should lead to the same component. So here /nothing would be an alias for /teams. If you do that and you enter /nothing, we still load the team members component. So it's a bit like defining /nothing with component teams list as we did it a couple of minutes ago. With alias, you can write this in a shorter form. But of course, the downside, which I don't want to have here in this use case, is that the URL doesn't change. And that's the difference to a redirect. With a redirect, the URL is changed. You are really redirected to a different path. With an alias, the URL does not change. You just load the same component as on a different route. And it depends on your requirements and your application which behavior you want. I don't want an alias here. Instead, I want to redirect as I did it before. I want to redirect to /teams, save everything, and therefore make sure that when I enter nothing, I end up on /teams. Another thing which we're not handling in this demo here is the use case that the user enters any route which is not supported. So here /something. If I enter this, again, we see nothing because we have no route defined for that. Now, of course, we can't define routes for all possible values that could be entered here. There is an infinite amount of paths the user could enter. That's why you can define catch-all routes. So here I'll add a new route at the end because it should have the lowest priority and only kick in if no other route handles this. But here the path should be slash, and then something which tells the router that anything should match this route. And for that, you add a dynamic segment, then any name of your choice, for example, not found or catch all, whatever you want. I'll go with not found. And then brackets, and in the brackets dot star. This certainly looks strange, but in the end, this means it's a dynamic segment, and this here is actually a regular expression. This syntax is supported by the Vue router, and it simply means any character combination which is being used as a value here should in the end lead to this route being loaded. That's why this needs to come last, otherwise it would also override the other routes which we want to have. But if none of these routes is handling the entered path, this route should kick in. And now here you can define which component should be loaded in this case, or if you want to redirect. For example, we could redirect to slash teams for any invalid value that's being entered. So if I save this and I enter something, I'm redirected to slash teams. Alternatively, you create a not found component, let's say here in the nav folder, with a simple template where I say page not found, maybe view our, and then a router link, teams, and close the h2 tag, and then here point at slash teams. That could be our not found page. And now we could load this component, which just has a template because it doesn't need more. You could add styling, but I want to keep it simple. And we could load this component now by importing it here into our main.js file, not found, from components, nav, not found.view, and point at that component here on this not found route, like this. And if we do this and save everything, if I enter some unsupported path here, we see our not found page where we can go back to teams. So that is how you can handle any invalid input the user might provide. It should come last so that it doesn't override your other routes, but then it's really useful. And together with the redirect feature, this allows you to have full control over where the user of your website is going under which circumstances.